This is TWiT.
Huawei is having a difficult time positioning its devices in U.S. carrier stores.
Still.
This isn't a challenge isolated to just Huawei, but Huawei had big ambitions, right?
As of like 4 years ago is when it started. I just want to preface it with that this has been going on for
Thank you.
Since 2014.
Yes, this is not a short-term issue here.
No.
Huawei was set to announce its partnership with AT&T at the Consumer Electronics Show last week with the Mate 10 Pro that was apparently going to be in carrier stores.
There were ads for it in Vegas announcing this availability.
Wow, but last minute, AT&T canceled the deal. Huawei has also sought a deal with Verizon as well, similar deal, but that's not likely to happen for the same reason. What is the reason? Well, it seems to all point back to members of Congress who lobbied against the deals with federal regulators. There's a proposed bill that would block U.S. government contracts with telecom companies that do business that use Huawei or ZTE equipment. And outside of phones, which is what we talk about a lot on this show, we talk about the phones that they do. They also make and sell a lot of networking equipment. And back in 2011, there was a congressional investigation that found that these companies were, quote, at the direction of the Chinese Communist Party, and as such instilled, let's say, a lack of trust in the American government, in the U.S. government, that these devices weren't, in fact, that they couldn't be, or they could rather, be commandeered by the Chinese government to intercept communications. And as such, we shouldn't have that in the U.S. government because that doesn't sound very secure. So this is all related, right, Flo?
Related.
I mean, it all kind of points.
Well, I'm
back
just
to
thinking about why now we are scared. Why now there are maybe American businesses that have trepidation about getting into business with a Chinese-based company, and I would think that because the current administration has made it known that that's a huge market we are we are competing with.
Sure.
So.
Part of it absolutely is.
So I'm
it
sort
has
of
something to
thinking
do with the current administration. I would imagine it's also, but it is a bipartisan concern, and it does stretch far earlier than just the Trump administration.
No, absolutely. I just find it very interesting that this is all still coincide. This is all still happening.
Yeah,
this is all still.
I know. It's
anyway,
kind of
that's
exhausting.
where my brain is going.
What do you guys think? I mean, would you like to see Huawei devices, ZTE devices in carrier stores? Do you think this is a lot of, I don't know, an overreaction, let's say? What do you think? Sorry, I didn't direct that at anyone.
Let's hear from Corey.
Apologize. Corey, what do you think about this?
I kind of echo Florence's, is this still going on? It's better to have more choice, but obviously if there's going to be some security concerns around it, then we should be a little bit more careful.
Yeah. Makes sense that the government would be concerned about that, considering their history with this topic.
Not to mention, how difficult is it going to be bringing in another smartphone brand with the number of ones that have already taken over our advertising slots? We've got a lot of brands here that are really competing for our eyes. We have Motorola, we have Samsung, we have LG, we have Google, we have Apple.
Well, yes, there are a lot of brands. There's always room for more competition,
sure,
right?
But there's not a lot of room to teach all those employees at those carrier stores, to give them the proper knowledge to be able to sell these phones to consumers.
Right.
Because I imagine a lot of these places are incentivized by how much education they get on each of these phones. And of course, Samsung and Apple have people, recruiters or whatever they're called, in the carriers that are helping inform the sellers about what's what. And it's just to put a phone to sell it here there's so much that you have to invest in it because you have to do so much outreach.
Huawei as a company, as a phone manufacturer, is definitely no spring chicken, right?
No,
they're one of, are they the third or fourth largest?
The fourth. I was really surprised by that.
Yeah.
Yep. So I mean, they have a lot of experience. The challenge, of course, when it comes to the U.S. market, is that it's so carrier store driven. All these companies have some sort of a presence here. It's just you have to know about the brand. You have to buy it purposefully through their site or through Amazon or whatever, unlocked on the web. And just for the majority of American buyers, that's not a practice that's very familiar. but
It's
in other
not.
places,
Because a lot of people don't understand the idea of the unlocked phone. Maybe they weren't really told about it because we know our carriers to be so proprietary and keep us locked in, especially back in the day when they subsidized our phones more.
Yeah.
Now it's just a really tricky market. I'm also just sort of curious about the fact that this seems pretty limited right now to Huawei and ZTE, two like very big overseas companies.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why are they having all this trouble?
Well,
What's
and
going
I mean, in regards to these two companies, it seems like a large part of that is the whole networking hardware aspect, and that you can't even get that hardware in U.S. government contracts anymore for this very reason.
Yeah.
Now it's kind of expanding out to where the government says, well, we won't even do business with a company, a carrier that does business with Huawei or ZTE, that carries their phones and has some sort of a business contract with them. So it's broadening that out. Huawei CEO Richard Yu did you go to the Huawei keynote?
I didn't,
at CES?
but I totally read this. I totally read about it.
Yeah.
I didn't go, but I read it.
But I read it.
Well, the CEO, Richard Yu, basically went off script during the CES keynote. At the very end, did the whole, the whole presentation for the Mate, the Mate 10 Pro. But then at the very end, and people were there looking at the prompter to see, and they were like, oh, sure enough, there's nothing there. He's off script for probably a good 5 minutes talking, just kind of giving some sort of, straight shooting kind of talk about how disappointing this was, how limiting it was for consumer choice. It really seemed like Huawei saw this as their big opportunity to break into the U.S. market in a big way, and for 2018, and they kind of don't have that opportunity as a result of this. I don't know whether that's a good or a bad thing. It just is.
It's definitely a challenging thing because part of it is that we've kind of moved. This reminds me a lot of the foreign cars coming into America in the 60s and 70s and 80s. Like this kind of thing where there was a lot of pushback on Japanese cars and things like that. Now, Hyundai and, Honda and stuff like that, they're common, they're household names. And I think a lot of it is that we have moved to a global economy and a global marketplace. But, like we touched on a lot of the political leanings and the kind of the world that we live in today, there's an attempt to pull it back to more of a nationalistic kind of approach and a fear of China and that sort of thing. And for me, I want the most amount of choice for myself as well as other consumers and customers. And I don't really feel a lot of nationalistic pride. It's got to be an American company or something like that. It's wherever you get the best piece of equipment from wherever, whether it's a Chinese phone or an Indian phone or Korean phone, or, I don't see how you make a distinction. Samsung's okay because they're South Korean, but Huawei's not okay because they're Chinese. It just that distinction to me just seems very antiquated in this global world that we live in now. Yeah. But maybe I'm a little Pollyanna, but I don't know.
Yeah, he was in his keynote. He was talking about trust and having to earn trust over time, and they've done that with a lot of the different products in a lot of different markets. And I thought it was really interesting that they partnered with the UK government to have them do some oversight to make sure that there's no security flaws and stuff. So that's how they ended up breaking into the UK market.
There you go. Yeah. Anyways, interesting nonetheless. Huawei, I mean, the hardware that they produce and the price point that they hit with that quality of hardware, and ZTE to a large degree does this as well, but Huawei's really known for this right now. It would make it, I think, pretty palatable to the U.S. market if it was presented in a way that it kind of has to be in order to make it here, and that's in the carriers. So I can understand their disappointment. I can also understand the other side if there's actually something concrete there. If there's a there, then I get it. I guess I don't know for sure if there is a there.
There is a there.
Is there a there?
There.
All right.
Somewhere out there.